welcome to Bay Focus. Thank you for tuning in today. I'm so glad you have, and as we do each week, we are going to highlight some ministries and organizations here in Central Florida that are meeting the community needs. And periodically, we bring in pastors and put a spotlight on churches, and we're going to do that today. In just a moment, you're going to get to meet some pastors that are new to us here on Bay Focus, and they're doing tremendous work in the Tampa area. And then also an organization called Empowered to Change. And they are literally having people's lives change by dealing with human trafficking, homelessness, substance abuse, a variety of things, all ages, actually from juveniles, young to old, and it's an amazing thing that they have done. So we're going to talk to them in a few moments, but we're going to start today with the pastors that are here, that are the pastors of Perfected Love International Fellowship, and the co-pastors, and happen to be a good thing, husband and wife team here, Pastors LaJun and Valora Cole. Thank you so much for coming today. And we've had an opportunity to sit and talk in my office. I'm just so impressed with everything you guys are doing. And I know you're in Temple Terrace. So Pastor LaJun, let me start with you. Give our viewers a little bit your location of where your church is too. Our
physical location is 10960 North 56th Street. Mm-hmm. So it would be at the intersection of 56th Street and Fowler Avenue.
That's in Temple Terrace?
In Temple Terrace,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. And your service times, so our viewers know?
Service times Sundays at 11 a.m. Mm-hmm. and then Wednesdays at 7 p.m.
Okay, all right, good. I always like to get that because people are looking for a church, and you guys have been doing this for a number of years there now, but a little bit of a background on the Coles. They are pastors, evangelists, authors, business owners. They literally travel the country. They've been on other Christian networks, number of books. So not only is Tampa your heartbeat, but you go beyond because you have a message. Tell us a little bit about, though, that you do in the church itself, because one of the reasons I'm bringing you on is you do some great community outreach events and things, and you have what you call outreach and inreach. So tell us about both.
Well, our mission statement says that we, number one, encounter God, and then we engage mankind. And so in fulfilling that second phase, and then after we've engaged them, then we want to empower them and equip them, basically. And after we've empowered and equipped them, then we want to employ them, meaning we want to put them to work and help them to do what they've been called to do, and then eventually encourage them in the process. So what we've done with our outreach activities is it goes into that second phase, which is to engage mankind. So what we do is we've got a couple of different things we do. One of the things that we do is we go out and we do movies on the lawn, and it's kind of evolved over time. Initially, it just started as just doing the movie screen, having popcorn and the hot dogs, but now we're actually taking that to use as an opportunity to be able to really engage the community to find out what the community's needs are. Sometimes when people do outreach, we just kind of give them, we talk about evangelism and we just kind of give them a solution, but sometimes we also now want to be able to help them understand where their needs are so that then they can be a part of that solution process.
Yeah, I love that. And the movies on the lawn, I actually haven't heard of another church doing that. That's a whole different thing. And you also do, correct me if I'm wrong, but you do like a back to school drive to, and then at the holidays,
right?
You do giveaways like food and all of that. So you're doing some of the basic day in,
right? Yes, ma'am.
And day out. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I want to give you a shot at InReach too, because you have all kinds of ministries that are that you just have on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. Tell our viewers a little bit about those.
Well, our InReach is more of what we do with like our pastoral care, really making sure, because sometimes you got to close the back door. Yeah. Oftentimes we're really good at evangelizing to get people in, but then once they're in, you got to be able to minister to them and find out what they've got going on that they need you to help work out. And then our Discipleship Institute is another major thing that we do. Yeah. Our whole focus has been discipleship, because one of the things that I think is missing oftentimes is that area of discipleship. Yeah. So really teaching people. For instance, when we started our Discipleship Institute 5 years ago, we found that most people that came to the church had been sitting in churches 10, 15, 20 years, but oftentimes couldn't even tell you the definition of salvation. They said, well, I'm saved, but what is saved? What does it mean to be saved? What is salvation? What do you receive when you have salvation? Because if you can deal with some of those issues, then what happens is the person eventually begins to grow in Christ and become the fulfillment of what they were destined to be, and then they give back. So I think that's major. Yeah,
and I like the concept of it's an actual institute, and there are things that are birthed out of that. A lot of times these days, when I was growing up, you had like Sunday school. That term's not even used a lot anymore. But so you see a lot of churches where people come to services. They come to services. Many churches have small groups, but not everybody takes advantage of that. But what you're saying is that it needs to get out of just coming and attending church. You need to really teach people discipling, and so it's not just they're just not coming and going, and that's a whole different concept. And if we have more time, we'll get into that too, because that's a big part of what you do. When you go around the country and you teach everything, you're really teaching discipleship. Valora, one of the things that you guys do is conferences, and you're definitely over something that you do for women in particular. Tell us about that.
Well, I'm really excited about Fearless, the Roar of the Lioness. And so our focus has been on specifically towards women, especially those that may not understand really who they are. And most people, like myself, have been plagued by fear of success, fear of failure, fear of not really understanding who they are or not being bold enough to go after the thing that's on the inside of them. And like myself, fear silenced me. And so it prevented me really from understanding who I was and what my real purpose was. And so just targeting that to really, for women to understand their purpose, whether it's in business, really focusing on the 7 mountains that influence culture, and to get them in position to do everything that God has placed on their heart to do.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, when I saw the title of your women's conferences, Fearless Roar of the Lioness, I love that. That like jumped out at me. It was like a take charge of your life kind of thing, of course, with God's help. Now, do you do those multiple times a year? Is it like a once a year?
It's a once a year
so you
event, and then we have different other activities that go along with that throughout the year that they can take part in.
Okay, good. Now, along with the discipleship, I saw something called, again, you guys just have the names. I love the names. Gladiator Camp, and that's kind of open to everybody. Tell us what that is all about.
Well, the Gladiator Camp was something that was birthed out of the Discipleship Institute. Because what happened was we were doing it here in our home base in Tampa, and then there were churches and organizations around the world who were saying, you should come here and do it. And so, because I'm military, it had a kind of a theme from, the movie 300. I just love that. I love the training. I love the whole gladiator thought. And so, so we started doing them in other cities. And so it takes about a day and a half. We'll do like a Friday evening and Saturday morning and Saturday afternoon. But what we'll do is we'll train primarily in 3 different areas. But there was also time when we did one in another area. So the primary areas that we deal with is teaching people how to be able to hear the voice of God and then be able to share what they're hearing with other people. And so, because I think it's very important for us to understand how to hear God's voice. Number 2, we teach people not only how to do that, but then also how to discern the forces that kind of hinder us from really being able to be effective in life. Some people call it spiritual warfare. We just love to be able to just teach people how to be able to, and so with some people, they have a different perspective on it, but one of those things that we talk about is really being able to deal with your mind, making sure that your mind is in alignment with God's word, the real battlefield of the mind. But then after we deal with that, we deal with our flesh. How do we deal with our flesh? Paul he gives us about 19 things in Galatians chapter 5, verses 19 through about 20, where he's talking about issues of our flesh. And so we really got to be able to deal with that. And then after we've done that, then the next thing that we love to be able to do is teach people how to pray. And we have a book called Plug into the Power of Prayer and Prophetic Intercession. And so we want to teach people how to pray effectively, because oftentimes people pray the problem and not the solution. And so very important for us.
Well, and the gladiator camps are open to everybody. That's men, women, everybody, right?
Everybody.
Yeah.
Even children.
That's a whole cross section. All right. If you would say, and the one thing in your ministries, and you both can respond to this or whatever, if you had to, and I think I probably know the answer to this, but if you wanted to say if people were coming to your church or coming to hear you speak or whatever, you were mentioning military because you yourself have a military background, right?
Yes,
and you guys, how God put you together. I don't know if you can tell that in 1 minute or less, but I mean, it's amazing the story how you guys found each other, how the Lord brought you. Valora, I don't want to tease my viewers and not tell. That's a great story. You tell it.
Absolutely. Actually, I went to visit the church that I grew up in as a little girl. Had not been there in 30 years. So I went one Sunday morning, and they had a guest speaker. My stepfather still attended that church, and a group of us went out to lunch that day along with the guest speaker. speaker and some of his guests that had driven up from Memphis, Tennessee. They wanted to go to the beach because, of course, they're in Florida. I was in the Bradenton area, so we went to Lido Beach. We met that day. It's not even a long story. 2 months later, we were married on Lido Beach. We went back to Lido Beach.
That's
and we got
amazing.
married
I
2
love
months
it.
later. And probably 2 months after that, God birthed the ministry that we now have, Perfected Love International Fellowship. So it's been an amazing journey. We've traveled all over the world. God has given us about 7 different businesses. So we're just amazed at what God continues to do.
And that's a good point, because you guys believe, you guys are involved in ministry, but you also believe in self-sufficiency and that to teach Christians and fellow believers to be business owners, to follow their dream, to do that. In the couple minutes that we have left, what do you want to say to people, and then invite them to your church too?
You know, I think our goal has always been, number one, discipleship. Most people say they come, they really say that we love, that there's an environment of love, and that they feel the love of God in the environment. It's like we had visitors yesterday, and we said if you haven't gotten 10 hugs by the time you leave, then you know, we're doing something wrong. But not only that, but also empowerment, because our goal is not just to have a bunch of people who sit there Sunday after Sunday and watch us, but to have people who themselves are really fulfilling their destiny and their purpose. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we have a heart to do, is fulfill that mandate of Matthew 28:19, where he tells us to teach, which is the Greek word matateo, which is to disciple, make disciples. And so that's our heartbeat. That's what we're called to do.
Yeah, I love that about you guys' ministry. You have such a heart to disciple people and see them grow in the Lord and get to the next level. Thank you both for coming on the program today. And I want to encourage you, if you're looking for a church in the Temple Terrace area, you can find Perfected Love International Fellowship there in Lutz. And you can find more information. A couple of the websites are perfectedlove.org. That's a great place to find out more about the church. And then also LaJun and Valora.com. You can find out more about their ministry too, LaJun and Valora.com. So we'll be back in just a moment with more Bay Focus, and I hope you will connect with Perfected Love Church.
I am strong-willed. I have a heart of gold.
I am beautiful on the inside and out.
I am able to push through the storms of a shattered heart, a broken spirit, and a tattered body.
I emerge from the storm twice as graceful and independent.
I am a truly gifted woman with a gorgeous soul and a dreamer's disease.
This is who I am. I am courageous.
I am independent.
I am determined.
I am relentless.
My name is Renee Burchard.
I am Michelle.
My name is Janicia Shanae.
My name is Kimberly, and I am fearless.
Well, if you're looking for a church in the Temple Terrace, Tampa area, I hope you'll look up Perfected Love International Fellowship. What a great work they're doing there. Well, we are switching now to an organization called Empowered to Change, and I love that name because that alludes to the fact that they are giving you some tools to change. And we have with us today the founder of this organization, two founders, co-founders, Michelle Snyder and Coral Nichols. And right to my left is Coral.
Yes.
And Michelle's right next to you. Thank you, ladies, both so much for coming on the program today. And you are a advocacy type organization, a nonprofit, where you really want to make a difference in people's lives. So I'm going to let you say it, and I don't know which one of you wants to do it, but what is this organization? How did it get started?
Go ahead, John.
Well, we got started through a mutual client. I was ministering at a church, and Coral was working at a different organization, and we sort of fell into this issue of addiction and just hopelessness. And so Coral and I met through a mutual person who needed help, and God just brought us together, and we decided that we were going to join forces and create our own organization.
Yeah. And one thing I want to say as we get started here too for our viewers, Michelle, who you just heard talking, has a strong background in criminal justice and working through the court system and being able to navigate all of that. And then Coral is number of degrees and expertise in psychology and counseling. So you have a great combination of some of the people that cross your path that will navigate, you know, both of those areas. So, all right, so you had a heart to make a difference, to change people with addictions. So what are the specific areas, because you guys have expanded beyond just sitting down talking to somebody with addiction, although you do that. You have actual residential. Give us facilities where people can stay, and give us the various arms of the organization.
Well, we have houses. It's sober living. We have houses that clients live in, and we come alongside them. We teach them boundaries. We teach them life skills. We teach them self-sufficiency. If you get rid of the addiction, what do they have left if they don't know how to sustain themselves, how to re-enter life, how to re-engage in life, how to re-engage in their family? So it's very important that they learn boundaries and skills and money management and how to re-engage with life and how to be able to stand on their own 2 feet. So through a 7-month program, we have 4 different phases. We teach them through phase 1 through phase 4. They learn to hold themselves accountable with what I would like to consider a safety net. Empowered to Change becomes the safety net. So as they stop, we begin as crutches, and we're holding them up to where they're standing on their own 2 feet, and we're standing behind them as the cheerleaders, you know, cheering them on that they can fight for their own life and they can sustain their own life.
Yeah, so you're trying to give them the skills to do that. All right, so now you guys operate in multiple areas. You're not just Pinellas County. Tell us where you all are. You've expanded throughout Central Florida, right?
Well, we started in Pinellas County and expanded with the judicial court system, not only in Pinellas County, but Pasco and Hillsborough County. We have had some phone calls from out of state, and we currently have 2 clients from New York City that heard about us and have sent their young people down to us.
Okay, now I want to clarify too here, because you, with these homes and everything you have too, automatically think of addictions, a variety of addictions or whatever you deal with, but you're also working with homelessness and human trafficking. Explain what you do in those 2 areas.
Go ahead.
Well, in the homeless area, we want to appeal to area churches. I come from a background where I was in ministry at church, and we had several occasions where we would have people coming off the street needing some financial assistance, needing food. They didn't have a place to live. And it's wonderful to help people like that, but what was on my heart was that there was nobody really to hold them accountable. Like, why are you homeless? Why can you not pay your bills? So what God put on my heart to help the homeless is to hold them accountable, to teach them, to give them a safe place to stay, but to not leave them where they're at that moment, to get out of the homeless state. And then on the other side with human trafficking, it's just something that was on our heart from the beginning, that our county and our state, I don't think people realize what a huge crisis that we have right here in our front yards with human trafficking, and it comes in all forms. But people with drug addiction, with prostitution charges, runaways, they fall into human trafficking very easily. And that's something that we have been led to provide safe homes, and possibly when they're finished with their intensive treatment, to re-enter back into society.
Well, you know, I've had a number of different organizations on, and what you'll see too is that deal with human trafficking and with law enforcement referring to them. And you see this a lot now too with churches and ministries. They're all they see this as an avenue that they can really help people. So they can have an arm. Various church denominations even have a wing like this, where they're trying to get out and change lives. And you also, I think this is the part you don't think of. Everybody, always sees the human trafficking and the sex trade and kind of thing. But there's also labor.
Yes.
people that are
Absolutely.
are abused as laborers.
Yes.
And do you run into that as well with it? So do you deal with all that too?
We do, but we have really only encountered and been able to assist so far with those that are actually in the sex slave industry.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so that still is the bulk of what's going on.
Correct.
And so then the law enforcement refers things to you, you have a working relationship with them. Is that how that works with you guys? Okay, so what your connections on that. Okay, one of the things, and when we say addictions, people are always assuming it is substance abuse. Do you have a variety? Do you deal with other areas besides that?
Addiction is not just substance abuse.
Yeah.
That's just one of the many strongholds within addiction. There's pornography, there's relationships, there's money, there is sex, there is food, and anything that consumes the heart is an addiction, is a stronghold. And what often happens when someone tries to stop using substances, they transfer to something else. It's called transference. So when they do that, it's helping them identify that, okay, you may have stopped using drugs, but now what are you doing? It's a behavioral issue, not just a matter of a substance.
Yeah.
So it's helping them to identify and getting people to really see beyond the scope of addiction is only for people that live on the streets or that are struggle with an actual substance that's against the law. It's more than just that. It's that. I've said it previously that it's the disease of a hopeless soul. Addiction is so much more than just a substance.
Yeah, that's a great explanation of that. And how important, what big thing what you do is you call it life sober coaching, life-sober coaching. How important is that to what you do? That would seem to be so important to me that you...
Oh, the two go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Without the accountability, it's not mental. We have a mental health counselor that helps them. But what we do is we coach them, we spiritual coach them, we life coach them, because as they're learning to transition and as they're learning to change their life, what we do is we come alongside and we help them problem solve. They learn to solve their own problems. We just coach them and guide them into the right questions. Well, what is your problem? Okay, well, what are your solutions? And the right questions help them learn that they have that strength and the capability on the inside of them to actually solve their own problems. They can work it out themselves.
Yeah.
They just need the gear, and we're the gear that changes the frame of mind.
All right, so you have these people come into your program and you have all these different arms, all these different aspects of what you're doing. So is there a point you say, okay, they're good to go, we send them out, or is there a follow-up? Is there, what would be the duration of following through?
Well, it's a 7-month program.
Right.
And they have to follow the rules and regulations. We have a 0 drug tolerance. We do random drug testing, and they have outpatient therapy, outpatient drug treatment that they are also assigned to do. So after they have completed these series of things, that we will graduate them. We do have a follow-up policy, but all of our graduates, they know that they can call on us at any time.
By the time they're done with the program, you feel they could stand on their own?
Correct. And you know what? We always say we're not responsible for their forever sobriety, but we are always here for all of our clients, whether they have graduated. Some graduate and do amazing, and some have to go around the mountain again. It just depends.
Yeah. Okay. With the one thing that I want to say here too is, I'm going to get my train of thought back here. I just lost it for a second. But it takes money to do all this. This is where I wanted to go. It takes money. How you guys are not for profit.
Correct.
You're nonprofit, and this is a huge undertaking. And you guys have not even been in existence for more than 5 years? Or?
Not even 2
not
years.
Even 2.
Not even 2? I thought I had you guys down. I don't know why I had it in 2011. I'm like, this is amazing, and you have these homes. And so have you had people get behind you? And what can our viewers do to help?
Well, we have had several people get behind us, and we're so grateful. Many people ask, are we government funded? And at this time, the answer is no, we are not. We do have, once we help people find a job that are in our program and we help them get on their feet, they have a small program fee. But we also have donations from people in the community, churches, organizations that recognize what we're doing. And what we would like people to know is, yes, we absolutely could use some donations. We are bettering the community, and it really affects all of us. And if people don't think that a person homeless or prostitution or drug addiction is affecting Pinellas County, we're sorely mistaken, because it is.
Yes.
And we're very thankful for our board of directors. We're thankful for the several churches that get behind what we're doing, but also other organizations in the community.
Yeah. Yeah, so I would say for our viewers, and if a pastor's watching, or you have another group of people within a church organization, you guys would more than welcome their support to come on board and help you guys with this. So,
and lots of prayer.
And prayer, oh goodness,
prayer is huge.
Yes, that
Most
is
important
absolutely. You know, and I think it's just a great way for Christian organizations, Christians, to partner with other organizations that are reaching out even beyond Christian community, which is what you guys are doing. Thank you both for coming on the program today. And I want to encourage you. This is a great organization, Empowered to Change, and we've been showing to you empoweredtochange.org is where you can find out more information on them, and it's actually empowered-to-change.org, which we're going to show you on the screen again too. But this is a great organization. They are doing so many different things. It's great to see people out that have a faith in God and doing something to get out in the community like these ladies have done, and really make a difference. So we'll be back in just a moment with more Bay Focus, and here's some more a way you can reach Empowered to Change. Hello, I'm Darlene Greenlee, and I want you to make room in your schedule each week to tune into Bay Focus. We are going to highlight local events, ministries, concerts. Reporter Brooke Larson goes behind the scenes at some of those concerts and talks to the music artists, local pastors, ministry leaders. Tune in each week. I'll see you on the next Bay Focus. I hope you've enjoyed today's program. We've just finished talking about Empowered to Change, a great organization for people that need help with addictions and a variety of other issues that we went through. And then also Perfected Love International Fellowship in Tampa in the Temple Terrace area. If you're looking for a church in that area, I know Pastors LaJun and Valora Cole would love to have you there. Thank you for tuning in. Check us out on social media and ctnonline.com. We will see you next week.